Let me begin by burning incense for everyone. Oops. Namo Amidavas. Namo Amidavas. So first of all, good morning, Trish. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Reverend Fred. Good morning, Nancy. So I think, as you can tell, I'm here streaming the service from home. Once again, not from the temple. The last time I streamed a service from home, I think, was back in May. And so, and then you probably remember that in the middle of June, the temple reopened to in-person services because the COVID test positivity rate at that time was very low, and it was very encouraging. But then, as we know, the Delta variant started to rapidly spread, and then the test positivity rate has dramatically increased many times over since then. And so because of this, and I guess out of an abundance of caution, the temple leadership has decided to close the temple to in-person services for the time being and go back to live stream services. So this is a very disappointing development for all of us. And of course, I think experiencing yet another coronavirus surge can only deepen our appreciation of the preciousness of our lives and the lives of all of our loved ones. But in any case, I certainly hope that all of you are managing as best you can to stay safe, and hopefully in the not too distant future we'll be able to open the temple again to in-person services. But in any case, we're very happy today to have Reverend Fred Brenion as our guest speaker. And if everything goes well, impermanence notwithstanding, we hope to have an interesting surprise for you a little bit later. But first, let's begin our ritual portion. So the ritual portion, the ritual materials for today's service are here on the Facebook page. I think if you look at the Facebook page, a little bit below this live stream, you'll see a window that says HHBT Stream Sunday Service. But actually, the service book is also available from our QR code. Let me put the QR code on the screen here. So if you have your smartphone available, just point your camera at this QR code, and it'll come up probably asking you if you want to download the service book, the PDF for the service book, and just okay that, and then you should have the service book on your smartphone. If you don't have your smartphone available, that's okay. Don't go running around fumbling for it. You can just also, if you have the red service book at home, you can use that also, of course. Okay. So we'll begin with the Gatha, when we see the golden sun, and after that we will chant the Ti-Sarana, recite the Ti-Sarana, the three treasures, and then we will chant the Shoshinge. And I think let me announce that when we see the golden sun is actually only in the QR code book on page 33, but I'm also going to project it on the screen. And then the Vandana Ti-Sarana is on the QR code book on page 2. And then we will chant the Shoshinge, which is, if you have the QR code book, it's on page 4. Or it's also in your red service book. So when we see the golden sun.
When we see the golden sun shining
Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dharmam Saranam Gacchami Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Difficult is it to receive life in human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma. Now we hear it. If we do not receive awakening in the present life, then in what life can we hope to receive it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together as one, begin on the great path of enlightenment, holding in our hearts the supreme aspiration. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together as one, enter the storehouse of the Dharma and attain true wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together as one, uniting in harmony, strive to live for the enlightenment of all beings. The incomparable, deep, and profound Dharma is difficult to encounter even through countless ages of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us endeavor to thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Buddha Dharma. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Now we will chant the Shoshinge. Kimyo Muryo Junyorai Namu Fukashi Giko Hozo Bosai ni Jizai Se Jizai Obusho Token Shobu Jodoin Kokudo Ninden Shizen Maku Konru Mujo Shushogan Choho Keu Daiguze Goko Shiyui Shishoju Jusei Myosho Monjippo Fuho Muryo Muhen Ko Muge Mutai Koen no Shoujo Kangi Chie Ko Fudan Nanshi Mushoko Chonichi Gakko Shojin Se Issai Gunjo Mukosho Hongan Myogo Shoujo Go Shishin Chingyo Ganni In Joto Gakusho Daine Han Hishi Metendo Ganjoju Nyorai Sho Iko Shusei Yuisei Mida Hongan Kai Gojoku Akuji Gunjo Kai Oshin Nyorai Nyo Jitengon Noho Ichinen Ki Aishin Fudan Bon no Tokune Han Bonsho Gyaku O Sai E Nyu Nyo Shushi Nyu Kai Chimi Sesshu Shinko Josho Go Ino Suiha Mumyo An Tonnai Shinzo Shi Unmu Jofu Shinji Ten Hinyo Nikko Unmu Shige Myomu An Gyakushin Kenkyo Daikyo Ki Soku O Chose Go Akushu 一切全幕本部人門心如来偶然願仏言古代小下者善人名踏んだりけ弥陀部本願念部邪見狂慢悪衆上信行十字人に難中止難昔インド祭天子論下中華自治域史こそ現代諸古聖書異名如来本勢置き釈迦如来両河線一種五名南天竺流十大寺出土性出の財派有無権先世大乗無情報召喚議事小安楽賢治難行六六信行異行指導楽億年弥陀部本願次年即時入上唯の上昇如来号王法大悲偶然音天神菩薩増論世奇妙無下光如来たら謙信寺高専王朝大聖願こういう本願力へこう移動群上昇維新気抜く独大崩壊学入大へ収集特使連下造世界即昇進女法昇進有本能林現人図入所寺音寺王下本寺鈍乱露天地上皇乱消防さらい三蔵粒子十条教盆書宣教気楽法天神菩薩論中下報道因果見世願王言栄光有他力少女死因唯信心枠前本部新人法承知生じ即涅槃必死無量光明道小宇宙上開普家同社結晶道南省唯妙浄土活入万全自力変言宗円満特語感染症三風三神慶四言増魔法明道非因一生増悪地偶税思案如解消妙観全道独妙仏性意公愛上三要逆悪光明明語見人年開入本願大智慧行者小樹今後心狂気一年総合用意大東逆三人即小発祥四条楽原神公開一大教変気安女観一切先祖修心反戦人法家二度小弁る極重悪人唯勝部が薬剤非摂取中煩悩証言水不見大非無見上昇が本次元空妙仏教連民全幕本部人新宗教書後編集戦弱本願偶惑性 現来生寺林伝下結地義上異生死即入弱上無意楽筆地新人異能入愚教大事修士と上際無変極俗悪同族自主愚道心唯化心死放送せナムアミダブナムアミダアブナムアミダアブナムアミダブナムアミダアブナムアミダブナムアミミダジョブのこの方は今に実行を経たまえり方針の降臨際もなく背の猛妙を照らすなり知恵の巧妙計りなし無量の所相ことごとく公共かむらぬものはなし信じ妙に奇妙せよ下段の降臨際もなし高速かむる者は皆有無を離ると述べたも平等格に奇妙せよ幸運無下女国一切の右下に触りなし光沢かむらぬものぞなき難思議を奇妙せよ少女根妙並びなし愚思考のゆえなれば一切の語獣残りぬ筆教へを奇妙せよ仏教所要最大一公園の仏と名付けたり三途の国安開くなり大用具を奇妙せよ願に宿毒平等正祭同法菩提心往生安楽Well, I hope you were able to chant with me there. And by the way, you know that Gatha that we sang, When We See the Golden Sun, I want to give credit to the singers there. That was Trish Nicholson, Nancy Kurihara Johnson, myself, and my wife Diane Hata, or as we're sometimes known, the Wednesday night study class +1, where the +1 is my wife Diane. But anyway, it's an inside joke. So, as I mentioned in my opening, our Dharma talk for today's service is by our guest speaker, Reverend Fred Brenion. And let's see, the surprise is let me get my Fred, are you there? Can you, Fred, are you there? Can you hear me? Sorry. Fred, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So
I'm on.
you have your Zoom audio muted, right? And you're Fred, are you there?
Oh gosh, hold on. Let me turn this one off. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, mute your Facebook audio, but unmute your Zoom audio. I think you muted your Zoom audio. You need to unmute your Zoom audio.
Okay, now do you hear
Yeah,
me?
now I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I had Zoom is silent. Facebook silent. Zoom is going.
Okay, everyone on Facebook, can you hear Fred and myself? Okay, if you can respond. Just it's about a
Okay.
20-second delay here, but let's see if we can.
Ah, yes.
I think it's going okay. Okay, Leslie, thank you. Okay, so I guess without further ado, Reverend Fred, take it away.
Alrighty, let me close this window here. So I'm operating from the Zoom one, right?
Yeah. Or you either well, yeah,
Okay.
you should because the Facebook is going to be a 20-second delay, but later on you'll want to see that.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, Namano Butsu, Namano Butsu, Namano Butsu. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on this bright, sunny Sunday morning. I'm here in beautiful Ukaipa up in the wherever it is I'm at. It's about 82 degrees outside. I'll be in the low 90s. I hope it's cooler where all you are at right now. Um, but today so much has happened, and I really was looking forward at the possibility of being physically present, but things being as they are with the COVID and with the resurgent and the Delta variety, that we have to detain on that for a bit. But in the last about week or two, I heard of this Facebook interview that's been making the rounds on the national news. It was from a doctor, Dr. Brittany Kobia from Alabama, giving her reactions to what is currently happening. Alabama sadly has the lowest, or one of the lowest vaccination rates in the country. And she wrote a very heartfelt account that really hit me right in the heart and really brought home our teachings. And she said that of all but one of her COVID patients in Alabama did not receive the vaccine. The one who did just needed a little bit of oxygen and is expected to fully recover. The others are dying. And she says the following: I'm admitting young, healthy people to the hospital with very serious COVID infections. One of the last things they do before they're intubated is beg me for the vaccine. I hold their hand and tell them I'm sorry, but it's too late. A few days later, when I call the time of death, I hug their family members and I tell them the best way to honor their loved ones is to get vaccinated and encourage everyone they know to do the same. They cry and they tell me they didn't know. They thought it was a hoax. They thought it was political. They thought because they had a certain blood type or certain skin color, they wouldn't get sick. They thought it was just the flu, but they were wrong, and they wish they could go back, but they can't. So they thank me and they go get the vaccine. And I go back to my office, write the death note, and say a small prayer that this loss will save more lives. You kind of go into it thinking, okay, I'm not going to feel bad for this person because they make their own choice. But then you actually see them. You see them face to face, and it really changes your whole perspective because they're still just a person that thinks that they made the best decision that they could with the information that they have and all the disinformation that's out there. And now all you really see is their fear and their regret. And even though I may walk into the room thinking, okay, this is your fault, did this to yourself, when I leave the room, I just see a person that's really suffering, and that is so regretful for the choice that they made. It's really hard because all of us physicians and other medical staff, we've been doing this for a long time, and all of us are very, at this point, tired and emotionally drained and cynical. I try to be very non-judgmental when getting a new COVID patient that's unvaccinated, but I really just started asking them, why haven't you gotten the vaccine? And I'll just ask it point blank in the least judgmental way possible. And most of them, they're very honest. They give me answers. I talked to this person. I saw this thing on Facebook. I got this email. I saw this on the news. These are all the reasons I didn't get vaccinated. And the one question that I always ask them is, did you make an appointment with your primary care doctor and ask them for their opinion on whether or not you should receive the vaccine? And so far, nobody has answered yes to this question. Dr. Kobia gets it. She gets Buddhism, even though she's not a Buddhist, probably has never studied Buddhism in her life, but she gets it. She's a medical doctor, and medicine is based on causes, conditions, and effects. This is the bedrock of medical science. Causes, conditions, and effects. You look for the symptoms, you gather information on where was the person at, how might they have contracted things, what needs to be done. Um, you may be surprised to know that when the Buddha devised the Four Noble Truths, he designed it on the medical model practiced within India. What is the symptoms? What are the causes? Is there a diagnosis? As there is, what is the program, which for us would be the Eightfold Noble Path and everything. So she gets it about causes, conditions, and effects. She gets it that we are all interconnected, that all these things are connected together, and that what we do affects each other. And she gets compassion, that when you see and understand reality as it really is, when it hits you in the face, you cannot help but develop a sense of compassion. When you come to the temple to hear Dharma talks, you will get, like for me, you'll get a little bit of Buddhist theory and maybe a little bit of Buddhist practice about how to put what you just heard into effect. But the best teacher of all for learning and getting the Dharma is right outside our front gates. When you leave and go to the front gates and you are in the outside world in reality, and reality slaps you in the face. Reality does not care what temple you go to or what you do for a living. It says this is how it is. Causes, conditions, and effects. There is no exemption to this rule. Everything must flow. The Buddha understood this. The Buddha understood very much, I think, what this doctor is going through and is describing so heartfelt. And she gets right to the core of the problem of what is really all our problems. When the Buddha began his path, well, like so many of us, he really didn't know what he was doing. He went to various teachers, he joined an ascetic group, and he almost killed himself. Much like a lot of these people who were doing everything else but maybe what they should have been doing, he almost killed himself in the process. And by sheer good fortune, a milkmaid came by, saw him, had a sense of holiness from him or something, and offered him milk and porridge as an offering to drink, and this saved his life. It was from this act of compassion, this realization that he almost lost it all, that he began to put things together. The idea of the middle path, that we should not go to these extremes, that compassion is all important. And when he came to sit under the Bodhi tree, he sat there to put it together. And the heart of his insight was to see the interconnectedness of all things. Now, we mustn't understand this as a Hallmark card kind of things, like we are all one, kumbaya, let's all sing a song and everything. But no, we are really, really connected. What one one person does affects the other, not from the past to the present and even into the future. And all this governed by the laws of cause and effect, causes, conditions, and effects. Um, just to give you an example, I have this little meditation stone. It's an encouragement stone. It says courage. I often hold this to give a talk or whatever to encourage me to speak boldly and everything. But if I drop this stone, you'll hear the sound. Cause it. I drop it. There's a sound. That's cause and effect. But the genius of the Buddha was that he saw that the rules, the laws of causes, conditions, and effect was not just on the outside physical world, but also operated internally within our hearts, within our minds, within our very being itself, that we operate under these rules. So, if I have hateful, angry thoughts, I will turn into a hateful, angry person. If I have compassionate thoughts, I will turn into, I hope, a compassionate person. Much like what the doctor here experienced. No, she's ready to pass judgment. These people have messed up. But when she's in there face to face, she cannot help but feel compassion for them. And the Buddha saw, as he analyzed this, and I want to point out to you that what the Buddha did here was so unique in terms of the ancient world. We think of him as a great religious leader, which he is, a great thinker, which he is, but far more importantly, because of what he discovered and because of how he did it, he is the first world psychologist. He basically founded psychology 2,500 years ago, going deeper than anyone else had ever done in the ancient world, by looking at how his mind operates, how his thinking process worked, and why it got him to where it is. And he saw that his thought processes were different links that these stages had to go through. If I look at something, and right now on the screen here, I'm looking at myself and everything, but I could be looking at other things, and those, whatever it is I'm looking at, makes contact with my eyes, goes into my head, into my mind, and reactions. I either like it or I don't like it, or I'm indifferent. But he said this always follows as this line of thought happens. And so he worked out these various links. Some count the links differently. There's some have like 9, some have 12 as a traditional amount. And these links are all connected together. Sometimes we think of them as one right after the other, but sometimes they're all bound together like those magician links that you see in a show. But the fundamental link, the one that is at the basis of everything, the one that is enslaving us, is the link of ignorance. Bishop Kawabata, who first taught me, told me that when the Buddha got it, he just sort of like lit up and just said, ignorance. This is what it's all about. It wasn't about old age, sickness, and death. It was his ignorance that was causing his problems, his distress, his ignorance about what was really bothering him, of what was going on. Everything else was just means that may have gotten him to that point, but ignorance, what he doesn't know. We are all born ignorant. When you look at baby animals, you might have seen this perhaps at the zoo or whatever. An elephant, baby elephant is born, or an antelope. They sort of plop on the ground. Mother cleans them, but within an hour or two, they're on their feet. They are ready to run and walk. You can't do that with a human baby. We are actually born premature. We're not fully developed at birth because our heads are still growing. And so basically, at a point, our, our growing induces labor into the mother that get us out now, we're not going to make it. Uh, we have to grow outside now. And so it takes several years to really get us up to where we need to be. And we are taught by our parents or our grandparents, and they taught us what they knew, and they so on down back. A lot of times our ancestors got it right. Most of the time they got it wrong on what they teach us, but it's enough to get us to survive, to keep on going. But when I talk with my Christian friends, they talk about about God and humans and everything, and I come to the conclusion that the difference between Christianity and Buddhism is not whether there is a God or not. I think that's actually a side interest. It's what kind of a person are we? What do you think human beings are? And if you think human beings are conceived and born in sin and damned from the first breath, then you need their message. You need this to go on. You need this kind of thing to follow. But from the Buddhist point of view, we are not born in sin. We don't have a doctrine of original sin, but that we have what I would call original ignorance. We're born ignorant. And the cure for ignorant is to be taught. The trick is to be taught the right things. And that's the problem of human civilization, is our ignorance. Now, the thing about ignorance is it's what you don't know. People think that because I'm a librarian that I know a lot of things, and I know some things. There's a lot I don't know, which sometimes scares me. But what scares me more is what I don't want to know. The, the core root of the word ignorance is to ignore what we choose not to look at or what we choose to avoid. This might be decided by others or it might be decided by myself. I don't want to look at that. I will ignore it. I don't think it's important or whatever, but and it turns out the things we ignore is perhaps what we really need to know. In my own experiences, I've studied and read a lot. I studied world religions for many, many years. I knew a lot about Buddhism before I came to Buddhism, and yet I didn't see it. I ignored it because my attention was held by other ideas and beliefs that I wanted to be true. I looked for answers that confirmed what I wanted to think. I think much like many of the patients here who are avoiding being vaccinated, they don't want to get a shot. They don't want to do this because what their politicians or Facebook friends or whoever said that's what they want to see, that we're number one, we're good, this is all fake, we can't possibly get sick because we're Americans and this doesn't happen and everything. This is all manufactured and everything. And then reality slaps them and us in the face and everything. And so this, I think, is a core problem for what is going on in our country, that we are embracing the root of ignorance in not facing up to what's happening. And there are reasons for it. Fear is a good reason. We're scared of various things. I remember an occasion my doctor find out that I worked at a state mental hospital, wanted me to get tested for AIDS. I was very surprised at that, but patients do a lot of things with their bodily fluids at work that I may not know about, and so it's possible that I could get infected and everything and not know it or whatever, and everything. And I was very scared to be tested because what if it came up positive? I could have affected my wife and all these things. I avoided for a while not getting tested because I was scared. But the right thing was get tested, do this and find the truth of the matter, and then because there are medications you can get on the program. But my fear was blinding me, and I think this is a thing that affects us all so much. And so I think this is an important aspect that the Buddha is bringing to us. And I think this is something that this doctor and that all of us are experiencing right now with the problem that what's driving COVID in this country is so many people not getting vaccinated. And because causes, conditions, and effects still operate, COVID is mutating. We have this Delta variation. This is something that the scientists have talked about for a long time, that this is what's going to happen if we don't do something now. But we've dragged our feet, and now more people are dying and more people are suffering. Um, what we're going through, not being at temple, is mild compared to what is going on everywhere else and everything. And so we must turn our hearts in compassion to the people who are still governed by their fear, by what they don't know. But what is needed is not to be didactic at people or to lecture them, and I've heard a lot of that, uh, but that to understand where they're at and to remember that we're part of the same human condition, that we are also part of the role of our own self ignorance. Because I have gone through this in so many different ways. Um, and to give it another example, as maybe you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I avoided the truth of that for a long, long time, that I don't have a problem. Or if I have a problem, it's a problem that I could solve, until the morning came when I realized I can't solve it because I am the problem. It's one thing to say I have a drinking problem. This is another thing to say I'm an alcoholic. I think our chore in Buddhism is to say, I don't have a human problem. I'm a human being. I'm a bumbo. I am ignorant and foolish. When you accept the truth of the import of that reality, then things start to change. Once I acknowledged the truth of myself, the craving left. I often think now that maybe I developed that craving, maybe subconsciously, as a way to wake myself up. Probably a very foolish way to wake oneself up. Certainly, the Buddha almost killed himself in his process. I could have wound up in a gutter in my process. But sometimes we need hard knocks to wake us up. So maybe we can help each other find an easier way, but first by listening and responding with a heart and mind of compassion. I don't have much else to say on this matter. All this is heavy enough as it is and everything. But one of the things, though, I want to lead off with or end off with is that the Buddha said that we have these links that are chaining us, and you might think of us as just like chained to a wall. You've probably seen pictures of that. And a lot of people, when they get rescued, they'll try to get the chain that's on the wall, break that off because that's easier maybe to break. But you still got the rest of these links hanging off your hand, and people can identify you as an escaping prisoner. What you want is the link that's holding you right close there. But we get scared about that because, well, that might hurt. Oh, and everything. I might break my arm or whatever. I don't want that to happen. So do another link. And no, this is the link of ignorance. Go for that. But we like that movie line that we say we want the truth, but the reality is we can't handle the truth. But it hits us in the face anyway. And then we find it's not that we can't handle the truth, but that the truth is handling us. And sometimes we need that. But there is another, this is not a chain. I was almost going to use this as a prop and everything, but this is actually a lifeline. Namu Amida Butsu. This is the tool to help break your chains, to break the chain of ignorance ultimately. Because when you reflect, as Shinran said, on the import of Namu Amida Butsu, I take refuge in the Buddha of infinite compassion and wisdom. That tells me I'm a person that needs compassion. I need to receive compassion. And I need wisdom. Wisdom is what destroys ignorance. Wisdom will use the right kind of knowledge to break that chain. But I need to go to my spiritual healthcare provider. The Buddha is my healthcare provider. Just like all these patients they went to everybody else for how to get around this. They looked up quack remedies from They hear on a talk show or on the internet. They don't go to the people that will tell them this is what you need to do. The Buddha is that person. The Buddha is our healthcare provider. So take refuge in the teacher who's going to give you the wisdom and the encouragement and strength to follow through. And I think that is a good place to end this talk on. I hope I haven't talked too long. Once I get going, I get going. There's probably a remedy for that too. But thank you for being here. And I hope we can talk more after this service on this and continue to talk about causes, conditions, and effects, about our ignorance, and about going to our healthcare provider for proper information and proper health. Thank you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Butsu. Okay. So,
Well,
I think I go.
thank you very much, Reverend Fred, for your talk. Maybe you hopefully you convince some people to take Buddhism, take the Buddhist teachings more seriously, and maybe become Buddhists. And maybe you also convinced a few people to look into becoming a librarian also. but no.
That was one of the things. I had questions, and at junior high, I realized everything I want to know is in that room with the books. I want access.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, once again, thank you very much for your very, informative and, timely talk for sure. Let's see, those of you on Facebook, do you have any comments or questions for Reverend Fred? Please.
Should I go over the Facebook?
Yeah.
Right
So
now?
look at the Facebook page. So there's a comment from Trish. Oh, Fred, you muted yourself in Zoom. Yeah, unmute your Zoom. Yeah, yeah. Just keep the Facebook muted though.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, Trish. I'm glad you enjoyed it and everything. I miss seeing you. I hope we get to meet again in the future.
Yes.
Okay. I hope I didn't scare everybody off with
Yeah.
this.
Well, no, I don't think you scared them off, but I'm sure people are very appreciative and reflecting on this. I think it's something that we're all thinking about this and talking about it because, in fact, my opening, I mentioned how back in June, the temple reopened. We all saw the declining, positivity rate, and then we opened in the middle of June, and then, gee, maybe just a month later, we had to close the temple over again. So, yeah, it's very disappointing, and I think it's as you pointed out in your talk, it's very concerning, and yeah, rather than anger, we have to redouble, as many other people have said, we have to redouble our efforts to better educate everyone about the science and the interconnectedness of everything, and hopefully that will help. Actually, the other thing that's convincing people to get the shot now, those people that were resistant, is the fact that this Delta variant is spreading. So that's another example of how the reality of impermanence is kind of waking people up to the reality of needing to get the vaccine.
I think one of the things is that while it is disappointing, it is not unexpected. The scientists have said that this is pretty much what's going to happen because of what we've been doing.
Yeah. Oh, there's a comment here from Diane.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Diane.
One from Jody Rich Ramirez.
Thank you, Jody. And also Rob. Yes. Yeah, I think there's this wonderful program, Reading is Fundamental. And I think reading is fundamental because underneath that, ignorance is so fundamental to our existence, and that's what we need to address.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Any other closing comments or questions for Reverend Fred Brenion? Oh, Penny, Dr. Penny.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're experiencing firsthand. You see it for what's happening. And in pediatric, oh gosh, you're dealing with parents and children, and I think when the anti-vax movement started, it was pretty much a parental thing because as parents, we're concerned about our children and we don't want them hurt. And you hear something that, oh, if you do this, this will bring harm, and so you walk into that without investigating further. And so I have to remind myself that the people who are supporting anti-vaxxation, in many ways, they're operating from the goodness of their heart that they want the best for their children, and they really think that this is wrong. But they just cannot stand back and look behind, am I right or am I wrong on this? You need to do constant research, constant rechecking. There's a famous story, Oliver Cromwell, who led the revolution against King Charles the First of England. No, King Charles II, excuse me. And the Parliament, which was filled basically the right-wing party of England at the time, and now they were going to implement their value system. They were going to abolish going to plays. They wanted to abolish Christmas, which they did, because they thought this was all pagan and wrong. And finally Cromwell said, bethink you that you might be wrong, because they were all going in with the attitude that they're right and everybody else is wrong. But if you think you're right, keep rechecking.
Yeah.
Research and
research. Okay.
Particularly about yourself.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That as you pointed out in your talk, that is probably the really radical discovery that the Buddha made. This discovery into the self, into the mind, particularly the way the self works. So, yes. Thank you very much for your talk. I guess if there are no other.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah. Thank you. I guess shall we close your talk at this point?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I want you all to have a good day, enjoy, and explore your ignorance. That should always be like number one on your list of things to do. What is it I don't know? What is it I avoiding knowing? Then go learn it.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much, Reverend Fred. Yes, let's gasho to the timeliness of Reverend Fred's talk. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, thank you, Reverend Fred. We'll see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I hope in the future.
Okay, thank you. So that was really a wonderful talk by Reverend Fred. Let me... let's see, moving on, as far as announcements, I think the temple office would like to remind those of you that have a Obon silent auction item to pick up. Well, actually, Nancy reminded me yesterday, it's not only to pick it up, but to pay for it. To call the office if you haven't already, and make an appointment for the day and the time, the window in which you plan to come. I think because of the spread of the Delta variant and the closure of the temple, we still welcome people to come and pick up their silent auction items, but we'd like to know when you're coming so we can kind of prepare and have it ready. So we do it efficiently. Oh, and also this goes also for those of you that that requested to pick up your Montoy lantern. So please, if you haven't already picked them up or made a set a day and time when you're going to pick it up, please call the office and make an appointment. And then next Sunday, August 15th, at 10 o'clock, even though the temple is closed to in-person services, the service next Sunday will be live streamed from the temple, from the temple Hondo, and it'll be led by Rinban Ito. But I think especially that you're going to want to tune in to hear the Dharma message of our newest Higashi Honganji minister, Reverend Steve Toyoshima. So if you're not familiar with Reverend Steve, I think you're definitely going to tune in to next Sunday's service and hear his Dharma message. Oh, and before that, we will hold our Wednesday night study class this Wednesday at August 11th at 7 p.m. So email the temple at temple office at info@hhbt-la.org if you'd like to attend. And of course, as Reverend Fred said, please continue to stay safe. And along with Reverend Fred, I hope to at least read your Facebook comments next Sunday. Let's put it that way. So if you will, please join me in Ondokusan II. So, in closing, thank you very much for joining us today, and hope to see you soon or read your Facebook comments.